position in the HGC Pro League. It's time to find out what map number 4 is going to be in this best of 7 series. Imported, get the pick, and we're going to Sky Temple.
When you lose, you basically get choice. Do you want first pick or do you want map pick? Lag4's like, you know what, we're done with this. We want first pick, and so we're going to get Sky Temple chosen by that. And I imagine, again, we've seen the Brightwing. We've seen a lot of Brightwing play, particularly from imported support. I think that this is another one that favors the double support, Brightwing style. We haven't seen any Dahaka yet, but we've been on smaller battlegrounds. We saw the Malthael play. I got a feeling with Sky Temple, maybe a little bit of Dahaka, maybe Falstad. But you can rest assured there might be a Brightwing ban coming first, because I don't. Cho'Gall, you can ignore the Cho'Gall ban.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they're looking at a Brightwing ban this game.
You're looking at Brightwing ban. You're looking at who's going to first pick Dahaka. We don't necessarily see high priority for Dahaka on the side of imported. They play it, but it's usually like, you know, not necessarily first pick for them. It's Swabs. And
Swabs, beast on that hero.
He is, but he also likes to play a fair bit of Zarya and Sonya or their secondary support, like that last situation that we saw. So we're going to see how imported does approach this. The Brightwing ban, as you mentioned, does seem fairly likely, unless Lag4 wants it.
That's the only way I can see it not going through. Or going through in this instance.
There have been some pretty meaningful moments where Brightwing just shuts down a lot, offers the global. It's a double-edged sword, and it will be the bin here very much.
By the way, that Zunit game that he played on Johanna was actually the last game that they played on Sky Temple against Gale Force.
Wow.
So it's a possibility. I don't know.
I always forget we're on camera here, but I do want to say, like, I love when the ambiance comes on. The stage turns all red and orange to fit Sky Temple.
I want them to kick the music on again that they played during the last commercial, so that you'll forget that you're on camera, and then everybody will see your dance moves, which...
I got white boy dance moves. Malthael.
You have nobody dance moves.
Hey, man. Malthael has been banned out once again in ETC. Is going to be the first pick for Lag4. Now, we've had ETC played first pick in game 1 and 3 on the side of imported support. It did finally get a number on the board, but this time Zuna says, give me that cow.
Moo. It's not out of the realm of possibility that it might be B-Kit if they opt to go double warrior.
Yeah, that's fair.
That we've seen in the Pro Division in particular the last 3 to 4 weeks leading into the playoffs, everybody's like, wait a minute, ETC's actually not as bad as we thought he was, and then everybody's like, wait a minute, what if we did? It's an identical path to 2016, is that it was mosh, mosh, mosh. Everybody's like, well, I've got interrupt, 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 and it's just like, all right, ETC's no good. It's like, well, what if we actually just like go stage dive? And then we saw some pretty epic plays from Wubby last year on Fnatic, and then it was like, this year's like, ETC's not that great. Oh, he's back, stage dive again. It's a recurring theme with a different, you know, a little bit reworked hero.
They do opt for the Rhaegar and then the Cassia, and this is definitely a little bit weird. Typically, Cassia falls a little bit later in the draft for most teams, even though specialty is very comfortable on the hero. There is certainly a case to say we should go Cassia, but get Tassadar. Make sure we get Tassadar, and the main support can be a little bit more flexible. But you still have to look at the values of Rhaegar, giving your team solid, clear, mercenary control and all of that. So they're weighing the risk and reward. And I, again, want to reel back to the fact that sometimes they will play Zarya as a pseudo Tassadar. And it can work out nicely for your team. Something that has to be considered in the mix of the, you know, the second bans if Tass is stolen here.
And that's the thing with this composition is that, again, we see a lot of trickle down from the Pro Division into the Open Division, and naturally so, the top tier players. There's our Genji, and we finally got our Lucio, but we see that trickle down where Rhaegar became the #1 support. And Ariel, which is arguably the Aware's best hero. On Sky Temple, you don't have as many walls to hit the Detainment Strike into.
It's kind of a bad map for
your value is less. We do see teams kind of fight in the open area and try to go that route, but I think the Rhaegar pick definitely good there. I got to imagine that Genji pick with the Lucio, there's no way that Lucio is going to be alone, because Genji dives and Lucio's like way over here and Genji's like way over here. I imagine double support will be coming in here.
There's always a case for a ban on Uther in a situation like this. You have to worry about the Divine Shield with the Mosh Pit and the Dragon Blade, and of course, it's just beefy. But they're thinking about globals here, and iDream does play a fair bit of Abathur.
Do you think you know what? Will imported support pick Uther up for themselves? Run double support. Rhaegar, as you said, fits very well into clearing lanes.
Wow, look at this. this is actually smart. Because although traditionally they won't play Cho'Gall, you want to deny it. And it's not good on this map. It isn't. You can out-rotate them. You can outplay the global game. They saw the Abathur ban, though. They're like, all right, what's the most likely global hero they're going to play in this situation? Probably Abathur. And they took that away, and they get a Cho'Gall ban. Whether or not that's what imported support wanted to play, it's a win for them having Cho'Gall be the ban.
You got to imagine that. So the way that we've seen a lot of Genji players work is that Rhaegar's on that back line. He doesn't necessarily have the same type of self-sustain. Obviously, he can't self-ancestral for a long time now. And we see players that are just like, all right, Cassia, lower health pool, traditionally, susceptible to physical damage, not susceptible to physical damage, more into the mage style damage. So you get Dragon Blade back there on those two targets, it's a tough fight to win.
Yeah.
So I imagine they've got to have some support, whether it's in the form of another Gorge Stitches, a Cocoon or Nubarak, which we haven't seen a lot of a Nubarak, maybe even a Tyrael Sanctification, which they are one of the few teams that will play Tyrael.
And they're going for the Greyman for Draded, and Ignition's going to be on Johanna. And I'm not surprised by this one bit. Johanna offers the blinds that help Cassia be a little bit more impactful because it does stack for her. And he's very good on the hero just for that controlling that front space. Also, decent response to the ETC mosh pit threat that could exist in this game. However, they definitely still need some more healing in here.
Are you ready for an adventure?
All right, so Lily is...
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
We'll see.
Depending on what the picks are here, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I think if it's Genji, Lucio solo against this composition, there's not a real threat. We have no hard CC outside of a Blessed Shield, which is a skill shot. So against against a highly mobile Genji. So
no, that's a good point.
It's a tough business right now.
Final two picks for Lag Force here in game number 4 to go with Lucio, Genji, and ETC will be Jaina and Tyrael. And you mentioned the potential of maybe we'll have Zuna on a different tank, and maybe we'll see the ETC played by B-Kid.
Last summer, Zuna, I think, was the only NA player that was playing Tyrael. And Zuna, for what it's worth, is one of the most skilled players on any role. I've never seen him on support, but I imagine he'd probably be pretty good there. But he'd probably just go full Kenma style and dive in a lot, right? But he's one of the best Tyrael players that we had, and he's still one of the best ones that we do have. So again, I think ETC might be that B-Kid off-lane style. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Zarya here even potentially go into that, because you lack wave clear outside of Jaina.
Yeah,
like you severely lack wave clear, and you can play that 1-1-3 style or 3-1-1 depending on where you're at on the map, and just hard push for that Zarya. You've got the added protection. You've got the expulsion zone for boss control late game to deal with that. Instead, they end up going double support. I don't like it as much, but the threat of Genji is real.
I'm pretty surprised to see Ariel in this last pick when you have to worry about the dive, right? You have Genji diving in, you have Tyrael diving in, and you don't have a lot of control for that. You mentioned the hard CC. Uther was open, but we don't see the Aware play as much Uther. He's really happy playing Brightwing. He's really happy playing Ariel. Uther, it's not like he can't play it. He just tends to avoid it if he can. And this could bite them because, yeah, they might have solid control when it comes to the rotations and the clear, having that Rhaegar, but
he bites them.
He bites them. He bites them. I just don't know that their team fights are going to be that stable when it comes to the dive coming in play, especially when you've got Holy Ground locking them in, and it could be tough.
Yeah, I imagine... I feel like we'll see Block Party potentially out of ETC, but he'll be more that side soak style hero. With charge strikes, it does help feed Ariel that energy that you need. And you really got to stay on your toes, susceptible to that mage damage, susceptible to the potential dive there from Tyrael Genji. We'll see how that plays out. You get that dive, you get the Sanctification, you get the Dragon Blade coming out. It could be tough, but Crystal Aegis, things like that, Ancestral, are going to have to be very timely. They said in their interview, it's like we think that we have the best double support compositions figured out in their current meta. We'll see here in this game.
Well, they've got to prove it now as we're getting ready to begin game number 4 on Sky Temple. Imported support, they've got the wind in their sails, but they need to keep sailing forward into this series.
Speaking of wind, man, beautiful out here in California this time of year. There's a nice breeze out there. Zuno is actually going to be on ETC this game. Biggie will be on Jaina. Tomster on Lucio. We're going to have B-Kid actually on the Tyrael. A little bit of a surprise to me, but not terribly much. And then iDream, see what damage he can do on the Genji.
Imported support dominant on Towers of Doom, Sky Temple. Another big map. We've got the Aware playing the Ariel. Swazwagoo is going to be on the Rhaegar, flexing that secondary support. Draded on the Greymane. Again, his best hero, I feel. Specialty, also known for his Cassia. And rounding out that team is the Johanna. Ignition has played so much of that throughout the playoffs. The double blinds. Even Ariel can bring more blinds into the mix.
That is true. That is true. You know, and you talk about the Johanna pick. Sometimes it's almost been to a fault, I think, at times, is that it's a very comfortable pick. It's a very safe pick, and it can deal with a lot, especially the ETC up there. Your condemn still goes off even if you get stunned. So if you can get that in there, it can be an interrupt towards the mosh pit, things like that. You've got Iron Skin, obviously. So there is some control that you'll have there. But I'm telling you, late game scares me, especially boss control. Tyrael alone, like you don't really have much to deal with that. So will be something if either team gets desperate on those boss calls.
Yeah, it's always a powerful resource to have, and so many confined spaces where Ring of Frost will be scary as well. I like the pickup of Jaina here just because a lot of the heroes on the other side do have so much when it comes to blinds, and you don't really get blind value if your opponents are just doing ability power. So Biggie is going to have a good bit of damage thrown onto the Aware. Blizzard crashing down, zoning him in. He'll dodge 1 and 2, but the Aware just holds on tight, and Specialty peels for him sufficiently. Zuna.
Hey, Specialty almost got the kill. The detainment strike went the wrong way.
Well,
in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Like it was right before. He just managed to get the heal off. Good discipline, though, to make sure to just kind of hold, and trust that you had enough time for that second heal.
Would have been a nice kill to get, but at least they didn't lose the Ariel. They are actually invading the middle watchtower here.
Zuna.
Greymane dives forward. Draded finds that first kill of the game.
Oh, Specialty is doing work on that back line.
And, you know, I'm actually really, really happy that instead of prioritizing their, like, tank or maybe their heals early on completely, as we saw in playoffs, they're trying to get the heroes for Draded and Specialty. And they're getting the value in these fights.
Every little advantage you possibly can take, you take it. And Johanna is able to step onto the point, Iron Skin away, and disrupt that. Try and get that top channel, and then make your way to the bottom and get some of those leftover shots that you just kind of held off there momentarily. But right now, things pretty even in terms of the temple shots.
Good detainment strike, a great response to a power sliding ETC. Worgen form might be enough here as Draded is very low, gets behind the wall, and that last heal comes through. Specialty dishing out all the DPS he can, trying to keep the foes at bay. Pretty even phase so far, but the experience speaks for itself.
Experience speaks for itself. We got a couple of members from Lagif rotating down to make sure Ignition gets off.
Rhaegar is just getting free reign in the bottom right now during all of this, and that is worth so much. Yeah, Genji's rotating back.
He's got a full lead of XP.
It's monster, and a lot of that is just Rhaegar clears infinite better than Genji, and Genji can rotate and soak some XP, but if you're losing structural damage, that's going to set them up really nicely for the next phase.
Look at this top lane, because the minute they forced off Lag Force, Specialty and team put a little bit of damage in themselves, and then they got the rest through the temple. That is almost, if they are able to get, say, the Night Camp to rotate over, to take control of that, get that down around the level 10 potentially, that's going to be around that second temple phase bottom, you might have a serious team fight in your hand and Imported Sport taking control of this game.
Johanna is holding the space between mid and top right now as well to make sure they're fairly safe in pressuring this here. Genji is in the shadows, so they don't know where he is, so it's focusing a little bit safer play than you might expect. But regardless, a couple more hits from Specialty will confirm the top 4. They just shouldn't overstay for this. They don't need it, right? Yeah. Shouldn't lag up on it.
I've seen that happen before on this map. You go to finish off the fort and you miss. Either way, siege camps picked up by both teams here on the bottom. Going to be cleared up by Imported Sport. See if they can get a little bit of push in here. Make sure you get more value out of that bottom temple. But B-Kid and Big E down here bringing the bees.
It's not the traditional Frostbolt build for Jaina, which is something to know. I mean, we do see a lot of that just because with Icy Veins, once you just start throwing out Frostbolt after Frostbolt, you can have good, consistent damage. And especially like a tank like Johanna that doesn't have a lot of mobility, it can be really, really hard for the team to deal with. But with Rhaegar and Ariel, maybe they're thinking they're just going to have to look for the Wombos, rely a little bit more on utility, and let Genji go in and finish those targets off.
The night camps picked up by both teams without the globals. We'll probably just see that kind of dissipate on its own as it's time for the bottom temple phase. I talked about pushing this in to make this bottom temple even more valuable. Jake, we also have a full level lead on the side of Imported Sport while Greymane's soaking mid. He might have trouble because ETC's rotating down, but he'll be just fine.
Yeah, rotating away just early enough. Right now, Jaina and Lucio are clearly in the top lane, so they're free to throw Johanna onto that point, start soaking this, and pressure the bottom fort with their heroes. This is going to be a big win for them because it's going to completely tear down the bottom very quickly. Yes, there is going to be counter pressure in the top, but
I want to see a boss play. You have to respond to this, right?
Risky.
Because you'll lose a fort.
With 10, it's less. Okay,
that's what I'm saying. With 10, they have ETC in their sights in the middle, but again, I think at this point you can concede the top fort. Just going up there buys time, gives them experience, and you do nothing with it. At least by getting the boss, you can get control elsewhere. It's giving a little to get a little bit more. And I think right here, with the threat of level 10, everything that you've afforded yourself now, you can get the boss, send somebody to clear this up. That's why I said instead of going to get that pick middle, you should have got the boss right away because you would already be hearthing to defend this. That is the mistake. That is a minor mistake that leads to a large implication. If they had gone initially, right away at 9.5, you are perfectly safe there. Instead, you give up more than probably what the boss will get bot lane, and that is all about timing. 10 seconds of timing, you just lost a lot.
I want to also just compliment the fact that only Draded went back because ETC was stalling. Zuna dove in on the point, he power slid to try to keep them baited for a little while to make sure that top push could do more. When they saw Greymane, it was enough clear to dissuade any further pushing because they know they're at risk of getting pushed in the mid lane. Imported will settle for allowing their boss to push alone, take out the front fort, and get complete structural control in the center of the map right now. Push all the lanes out with Greymane and extend that lead in a safe manner. Yeah, they don't get the keep wall, and their top keep wall might be down, but it's still favorable for them in the end.
We'll see how it plays out in the long run, but as you said, they have the structure lead. All 3 forts are down on the side of Lag Force. Imported Sport with 2 forts still standing. They have themselves almost a full level lead. ETC and company. Ignition says, hold on, guys. We're going to finish this, and we're going to walk away, so just go back to your side. We're good. Not allowed into this club.
It's so safe for Johanna to just be like, hello, good to see ya. I'm going to walk away now.
It's like a bouncer. Like, you don't belong in this club. We don't allow your kind in here. Moo.
Moo.
Jojo, nice clear.
So with Sanctification and the Dragon Blade, they definitely have like some pretty scary initiation. Ring of Frost, thrown in the middle of that. The Wombo potential is terrifying. So yeah, Imported might be looking good right now. They're sieging up in this bottom bridge of death, essentially.
Yeah, Tyrael hearthed, which means that, and you see the position of ETC, he's looking for a flank. You've got to get off this bridge now. You've got to go. Genji dives in. Ignition trying to get some control, but here comes Zuna. He missed.
Specialty is now in a really bad position. Zuna does keep them forward, but they're looking to find the damage onto the mosh pit, which goes down. A big ring of frost onto 3 members, and Dragon Blade is just becoming overwhelming damage, but they're bringing it back. Specialty dives in, finds some big DPS for the team, and it's very, very even 3 for 3, but Swaz Magoo is on the run as that HP is too low.
They've got it there. They're turning their attention. B-Kid trying to get away. He's got the shield. The Eldruin's over the wall. He's going to go. They end up with 3 members standing on each side, and you got to think that Imported Sport is lucky, Jake.
Dude.
They are lucky that they were able to get that.
Like, Specialty wasn't the focus, and he was able to dive back in and hit 3 members with the E, and that really just kind of allowed the fight to seem even. Otherwise, yeah, that was definitely lucky.
I mean, that was a really good mosh, and the ring, oh my goodness, that's the dream. But, you know, Jaina, only 15 stacks on that level 1, so you don't get that 10% extra damage just yet.
That'll add up.
And then level 16 is scary if you opt to go into the vulnerability on your E, which you already had gone into that at level 7. So we'll see how that cone works out here as the rotation down. Swabs Magoo, will he overstay his welcome?
Looks like we have another skirmish in the bottom, trying to protect Swabs Magoo.
The
peel from Ignition is going to get a free kill onto Jaina, not respecting the rotation. That's going to mean the bottom keep is forfeit any moment now. They're looking to try to lock someone down. Genji too slippery. They just got to look at that keep and it goes down.
Oh, just look at that. Just look at it.
He looked at it with a laser bolt.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Anyways, they've got control. A level-and-a-half lead in favor of imported support. They've got keep down. And you know, we talked about it, Jake. 16, by the time 16 is here on the side of Lag Force, I said that one of the biggest things, if a team gets desperate, they might try and make a play for the boss. Now, if it works out in favor of Lag Force, they could push that for potential win, but alternatively, imported support, that is a potential win condition for them now as we get later into the game. So there's going to be some key elements, the way the alt or the temples spawn, things like that, that could determine how this game goes. I am really excited right now because this has potential to be an exciting finish.
It does. It really does. Imported support have that big lead, and you can see Zuna posturing hungry. I've just been watching the mini-map. He had been sitting in a forward position at the ring of the watchtower, which they had control of, and he saw Cassia for about 2 seconds, and he flinched. He moved forward like we can maybe kill him. But what is imported support doing? They're staying together. They're not giving the opportunities for someone to get picked, and they're letting Ignition properly clear the path for the team, check for rotations, and heal as they should. Getting that giant camp stolen, whatever. They've got pressure in the top lane, and now they can continue to pressure here in the bottom.
Yeah, they'll clear that up pretty quickly. They have the talent tier advantage. Lag Force should conceivably be able to get 16 sometime during the next temple phase, which should be spawning soon. But Jaina already had to hurt. There's a Night Camp pushing top. Yeah. The minute they see Jaina top, they might make a play on this. There is no holy ground yet, but you do have to fear the mosh pit, the ring that we already saw, Sanctification. If I'm imported support, I don't know if I like this. Jaina showed top. They are starting the boss. This is where it might go down.
There is no holy ground. Like you mentioned, an ETC is their main form of control. Jaina on the way. But that Ring of Frost is an essential part of this defense. The boss is getting incredibly low. Ignition's going to need to walk in onto the point. Ring will be ready, and they're holding steady on the point, but the damage is going down. They knocked B-Kid back, but the Ring is so much damage.
The minute you go in, that is 2 for 2 right now. Ancestral lands on his raid and swaps him a goose going in, trying to get, he gets the takedown onto Genji. Zuna in all kinds of trouble. He's going to power slide away, and that is going to be a dead cow. That is a 4-for-1 trade. They forfeited the boss, but they still have a Night Camp pushing top, 2 temples. Despite losing that boss, imported support came out ahead.
Ancestral heal and go for the throat, keeping the dream alive right now. The Wombo was there in the nick of time. But man, was Sanct used? Because it's not on cooldown.
It was. So when they went in, when they originally went in, it is on cooldown. They did not use it.
I heard the sound effect. It didn't get cast.
Okay, so it might have been canceled.
Yeah, it must have been.
Or you're hearing things.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to guess it was canceled.
Seems likely. But honestly, this does make the situation even more dire. 16 might be here for Lag Force, but now they're losing all those structures. Yes, they can contest the top shrine here, but before long, we will see Ariel making that rotation up to look for the 5-team fight. And the catapults will start to build up here in the bottom lane.
Genji was just showing bottom, clearing up the camp, which means they know that they don't have that threat. Dragon Blade was used in that last team fight. Mosh Pit isn't there. So your biggest key elements in a team fight are no longer there. They'll wait for Ariel to get here. They're going to hold ground for a moment. The power slide, though, onto Swabs Magoo. He's isolated for a moment. Good body blocks coming out here from Zuna.
Yeah, Zuna definitely seasoned in that realm, and they do get the Sanctification Ring of Frost combo going down. Combo onto Rhaegar, getting an easy kill. Crystal Age is trying to buy some time, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough here. Specialty, the big source of their damage, has died. The last 3 members doing what they can to retreat here. Dragon Blade, unfortunately, for the side of Lagif, was about 8 seconds away from being available, and that will net them a keep at this rate.
That's the thing, is you had the advantage previously. You don't necessarily have it now. 2 members are down. They've got to watch. He is looking, I was going to say, with that Eldruin's Might going down, he is looking to isolate somebody with the holy ground. They got to be careful. Stepping forward, zoning Blizzard, but with this temple, they'll lose the top keep.
They will. Catapults here, you know, could become problematic. They're positioned in a way where they are near the mid keep, so they are taking a little bit more damage as they push forward, but they do get the Hearth for 3 members just to ensure they don't take any core health. Even 5% could be meaningful. In a really close game, you never know. Still about a level lead for imported support, but man, it is close right now.
It is dangerously close for both teams. One big team fight this late into the game, Jake, will mean game over if you're able to get 3, 4, potentially the 5-man team wipe. We'll see how these teams do try and approach this, because this is a scary situation. Tyrael, we see on the minimap, scouting out. Johanna went down. They'll see the night camps picked up at the top left. They'll instantly engage onto the night or onto the siege camp. It's being watched here. This is not free. Holy ground is here.
They got to be so careful.
There's holy ground.
With northern exposure in the mix, I mean, Jaina is really scaring these clumped up situations, and Sestral's going to be there. That is a monstrous Ring of Frost, and the Dragon Blade of Sanctification going down. Every single member should die here for imported support, as that greedy play looking for a camp really bites imported support in the butt.
Greed will get you, and that's going to be Lag Force. They're going to make their way over with 50 seconds left on all the death timers. They will move all the way into the core. We'll just sidewall it here and then move directly to core and easily take game number 3. Imported support. Their last 2 team fights were 2 team fights they did not need to take. They ended up dying, and that is going to be game. A little bit of greed after getting such a big lead, Jake. That's got to feel bad.
You see Jaina on the top. It's not the longest rotation. If your PvE damage isn't sufficient to like really make a boss melt, you gotta know that you might be forced in a fight, but can you win that fight? And then, you know, it was even enough, but that last move to get what does a giant camp offer them there? A little tiny bit of XP.
That night camp is not 20? That far away.
Yeah.
And Tyrael was literally, they didn't check the bush. Tyrael's holding ground, waiting for holy ground at that point.
Yep.
There was zero reason to be there outside of if you wanted to take a team fight, but you're on even talent tiers, you're not soaking lanes, you're not getting control of the battleground, you're not pushing out that top lane, which will conceivably be pushing with catapults. You weren't finding a way to get 20. You had the experience lead before. You gave it up in the top team fight. You had a way to regain that. You gave it up in a team fight, and you give up a heck of a lot more when you get greedy like that. So imported support to pretty bad calls lead to a rough finish there after they had control for most of that game.
Let's watch that Ring of Frost again, because I think that really was a nail in the coffin for them with Northern exposure on top of it, level 16 Jaina talent. It's devastating amounts of damage for the team when that comes into play. Perfect positioning for them. And again, watch how casually B-Kid's just like, well, you know, hey, look. Cool, this is mine.
But they didn't keep an eye on ETC. Like, this is twice now that he's just like, all right, okay, you're clumped up, here I come, and then it's party time. That is 4 members. Instant deletion.
Mosh pit perfectly going in that clumped situation. Literally the last case scenario where you want to be fighting in an even footing, where you're trying to reposition, spread out, and, you know, get Cassia into a spot where she's off to the side, dealing damage. That was costly, and that puts Lagif 1 game away from securing their spot and holding it here in the Pro League.
Yeah, and they've done it, and when they win, they look good, but that is Lag Force. If you're imported support, you have to recognize this is Lag Force in a nutshell, is that when, no matter the circumstances, they'll forget the macro play, let's fight. That's what they do, and their composition was built to fight. On the other side, it was built to sustain. You cannot just go in to choke points against that style team, against the Genji, against the Jaina, against an ETC, and feel comfortable at Johanna is the only person that can step in there. Rhaegar, everybody else got locked down instantly, and it was a tough fight to take. Again, I think that in hindsight, everybody's going to look at them and be like, look, we shouldn't have done that, but you've got to know those things in the moments. That's what separates the good from the great, and right now, imported support, they've got their backs against the wall.
Maybe it's a bit of just something they get away with in open division, but you're not going to get away with those kind of plays against a team in the HGC Pro League. We're going to get ready for Game 5. We'll be back in just a few. Stay tuned.